Corrupted Bombard Eximus,
Deleted.
Corrupted Heavy Gunner Eximus,
Vanished.
Exo Gokstad Officers.
Gone.
Oh yeah, Dagath can do all of that. Welcome everyone to this A Smart Viewer gave me a great idea that I've never thought of video. This one will be shorter than the usual guides, but what it lacks in length is compensated with impressiveness. To be fair, Reave builds are nothing new under the sun. However, this one does not only offer the same one-shot potential, but also a full armor strip, another layer of invulnerability, and the ideal conditions to be played alongside weapons, with a solid primer and gun platform buffs. Let's check the build in the simulacrum first of all. So here we are in the simulacrum. I didn't write any script for this moment because I prefer to do this like impromptu, because there's a lot I want to talk about. Let's start over with the Sinergy itself. This viewer told me they are using Reave and Doom, so Reave takes like, let's say, half of the HP and then Doom replicates the same damage. The only problem is that if you go, so Doom does a 100% damage redirection, Reave will do more than 100% of the target health, so it's redundant. This means you can go below on the strength level and it should work. This is the main synergy, okay? Then Archon Shards, you don't really need. These are just to replicate half of what Equilibrium does in tandem with the passive. These are for maximum energy because I'm not using any flow mod, and casting speed because I like it. Let's go over the mods. As I said, we don't need this much of strength. Also, have in mind I'm having a minus 60% here. If you can go around 200%, that it should be enough. Have in mind you have some health drain here and then you replicate the same damage. Just do the math, find the sweet spot for you. I think this is good. This is good for me. The second, or I would say the most important stat here is range, because Reave base range is tiny, is small, is below average. Even though we're using Blinding Reave, as you can see, it's only 16.5 meters. Maybe it's too much for some tile sets, but for those like Orokin tile sets that are wider, it will be better. Also, the spread from Doom gets increased. Not the horses, unfortunately. Rakalis Cavalry only benefits from duration. Speaking of which, here I chose Arcane Concentration because that 60% ability duration on the next cast is super good. You should be going like Doom and then Reave, or Doom, Horse, Reave, something like that. So the next ability will get the buff. Beside that, I'm using Arcane Steadfast, but you can use whatever. I like this one because free casts are so good and so comfortable. And what is more important than any of that, I would say, it's the viral priming. I'm using Diriga. You can use maybe a Hound or Viral Cut, or you can use whatever you want. But viral is important to make this work. I would say from here you only need 5 mods, which are Arc Coil, Assault Mode, so the Sentinel actually attacks. What Arc Coil does is it spreads the status, not only this electricity, but also the damage type the Sentinel weapon does. Then Manifold Bond, so you reduce the cooldown every time you kill an Eximus. Duplex Bond, so you have more Dirigas shooting the Sentinel weapon. They cannot use Arc Coil, but just using the weapon is more than enough. And then Momentous Bond, so everyone, the clones and the original Diriga itself, they gain a lot of random elemental damage to their weapons, and you also make the recovery time lower. Everything else, this is for survivability, this is for like a comfy playstyle, and vacuum, I would say it's mandatory. Then the weapon itself. I'm using Tazicor because I love it. The innate trait of Tazicor is that it shoots and it chains up beams. It's like a Torrid or an Ukor. It's innate electricity, so you need the 60-60 to make it viral. And then fire rate, status duration, more status chance, reload, and reach. These two are so important because base range is only 20 meters. That's a little bit on the lower end, and prime fast hands because this 40 and this magazine of 40, it will be depleted in a second and a half or even less. Alright. Okay, so enough talking. Let's put it to the test. Alright, so what we need is to have a lot of Diriga clones on the field, so they inflict those 10 barrel stacks. You will see why it is important. For Eximus units, I suggest either stripping the Overguard with whatever, I will show you how I would do it, or using Doom and then Reave. As you can see, it's somewhat inconsistent sometimes, but just have in mind that you can move while using Reave, and each time you pass through an enemy, you inflict the damage, so you can hit them more than once. Let's check what it can do against one of the tankiest regular units. With that I mean units that are not unique, like Juggernauts or some bosses. So they are there. You will see how some may survive. Go Doom, we go Reave. This one, they weren't affected by viral, so you can see that why they survived. However, this is the important part of the build. It may not be a one-shot if they are not completely primed, but it's not that you just need to hit them once. You can do this. Maybe some will survive, then hit them again. I mean, if they don't die with the first hit, then hit them a second time. Also, this is quite impressive. Stupid horses. They also do a lot of damage, and they fully strip their defenses, so next time they are more vulnerable to your attacks. Not to Reave, unfortunately, but from your teammate, from your squad, from your companion. This is really strong. I mean, this idea is genius. I've always seen Reave as a mediocre ability, but damn, it can absolutely do the job. Alright, so I mentioned that Overguard can be a pain in the ass because sometimes they can tank the Reave damage. You cannot use the armor strip effect on Overguard enemies. You know, it's overall just one stupid mechanic in my opinion, but who am I to judge? To deal with Overguard, I'm using Akarius Prime. This is an incomplete build. I went with this one because it's a secondary, so we can use secondary fortifier, also prime fulmination for an extra boost to our range, and everything else is just there. We just need magnetic, range, and fortifier. We are also using the buff from Grave Spirit, so we have an extra critical damage buff, which gets doubled on doomed enemies. So doomed, and you just once. It's more than enough. It can even kill units with magnetic damage. it's really strong. Once they don't have any Overguard, you can just Doom again and use your Reave. And if something survives, you Reave again. And these two really wanted to live. We can also test it with another type of units like heavy gunners. With Doom, then Reave. It's more than enough, I would say. What you can accomplish with this one is an easier way of making your horses one-shot everything. So you Doom, you break the Overguard, and then you just use the horses. Then what's left, you Reave. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so if there's something I want this video to transpire is the importance of two things. One is this only works on fully primed enemies with 10 stacks of vital. Maybe it works in lower levels, like let's say Steel Path and 150 or something like that. I'm not sure how it will perform in level cap, but for regular content it will just delete everything you have in front of you. And remember, you can move while using Reave. You can hit enemies twice or 3 times or 4 times. It depends on how quick to react you are. Also, a second thing is remember to cast Doom on enemies you are not confident that they are going to die. So if they are not fully primed, you can use Doom and Reave and it should do the job. Last thing is these goddamn horses. They can also one-shot. You can just go Doom and then horses. You can follow along. You can charge with your cavalry, and it's just fun. It's just fun to play around. I think it's one of the most original ways of playing Dagath. Like you really feel like a Death Reaper, and them. I really dig on it. I'm so glad this viewer gave me this idea. They were so kind to add me on in game. They showed me their build. We shared some feedback. Overall, this has been a blast for me. I hope you liked it, and I hope you can replicate this, and maybe it will click with you. That's it for me. I will see you next time, probably with Ember video. Stay tuned so you don't miss it, and thank you again. See ya and peace!